This church behind me marks the beginning of the separation between Judaism and Christianity, making it, as far as I can see, one of the most important places in Israel. When people think about Jesus, they think about Bethlehem, Nazareth, and Jerusalem. No one thinks about Jaffa, and for a good reason. There is no documentation in the New Testament of Jesus visiting Jaffa. So why do I think that this is one of the most important churches in the world, although it has nothing to do with Jesus? In short, because it has nothing to do with the life of Jesus itself, but everything to do with Christianity. I've said it many times in my videos. Jesus was Jewish, his disciples were Jewish, he talked to the Jews, and I have two more things to add. He chose to live in the Jewish area of Capernaum, although he could easily have moved to the other side of the Jordan River, where he would have been safer, and he was put on trial by the Romans in Jerusalem as the king of the Jews, not the king of all nations and all peoples. Nowhere in the Gospels does Jesus announce that he intends to create a new religion. Only after Jesus ascended to heaven did the followers of Jesus open the gates to non-Jews, and the man who was responsible for that was Peter. St. Peter, one of the more important apostles, stayed in the home of Simon the tanner in Jaffa. He goes up to the roof to pray and falls asleep. Peter then has a vision of a large sheet containing all kinds of animals and birds descending from heaven. A voice calls out to him and tells him to kill something and eat, but he protests that the meat is unclean, not kosher, and thus forbidden to Jews. The voice replies, "Do not call anything impure that God had made clean." According to Catholic tradition, the church is located on the site where Peter had his vision. This vision has great significance. Later in the same chapter, he arrives in Caesarea to baptize Cornelius, the first non-Jew to convert to Christianity. Peter's vision and the conversion of Cornelius to Christianity are the first two steps in a long process of Christianity disconnecting itself from Judaism. But let's start from the beginning. Peter was a Jewish fisherman from the village of Bethsaida, situated at the northern end of the Sea of Galilee. All of Jesus' apostles came from that area. His Jewish name was Simon. Jesus gave him the name the Rock, as they were in Banias, which is the site of a natural spring. Rock is Kayafa in Aramaic and Petrus in Greek, hence the name Peter. The cross located at the front of the church stands on top of a rock that was brought in from Banias when the church was built. Jesus had told Peter at Banias that he was the rock upon which his community would be built. It is Peter who started the separation of Judaism and Christianity. Judaism is a religion based on rules. All the rules regarding what you are allowed to eat, how to prepare food, and so on are called kashrut. And the vision that Peter had here leads him to reject these rules, as if to make it clearer that this is about more than just one specific issue. Peter goes on to convert a Roman soldier to Christianity in the same chapter. The process of separation between Judaism and Christianity was gradual, and it took 300 years for them to be completely separated. Following on from the vision with the animals, there comes another critical issue, circumcision. Peter stated that men didn't need to undergo circumcision in order to be followers of Jesus. This time, the justification didn't come in the form of a vision, but in the claim that God blessed Abraham before he ordered that every male should be circumcised. This was a big deal because the Greeks and Romans consider circumcision as a sin against the body. And if you say to someone, "Hey, do you want to be a follower of Jesus?" Great, but first you have to cut off a part of your... Clearly, that would put a lot of people off. So we learned from the New Testament that Peter abolished the need for followers of Jesus to be Jewish, eat kosher, and be circumcised. But that was only the beginning. At the beginning of the 2nd century, after the New Testament was sealed, we have the first evidence of Christians celebrating Sunday and not Saturday as the day of rest. The split was fully completed only at the start of the 4th century. At the Council of Nicaea, which is located within modern Turkey, it was finally decided that the date of Passover and Easter would be separated. Easter was to be celebrated on the first Sunday after the first full moon that occurred after the spring equinox, the day in late March when the night and day are almost of equal length. Until then, Easter had been observed by Christians during the Jewish festival of Passover. This was also the time when Christianity became a legal religion in the Roman Empire. As long as it was illegal, it was safer for Christians to present themselves as a Jewish sect. But once it was legal, and then once Christianity became the state religion, they distanced themselves even further from Judaism. Fast forward 2,000 years, and there are plenty of Christians who don't even know that Jesus was Jewish. From the point of view of the Jewish community, all those who follow Jesus from the middle of the 1st century, so about one generation after Jesus was crucified, were not considered to be Jewish anymore, whether they were Jews or non-Jews. St. Peter's Church is special because its altar stands the west part of the church and face west, and in this way, Jesus is symbolically appealing to non-Jews and to all the nations across the sea. St. Peter's Church was built and destroyed a number of times, and most of today's building dates from 1894. The construction was financed by Spain's royal house, which is why it is constructed in a Spanish architectural style. I think the story behind this church, the separation of Judaism and Christianity, is really interesting, but it is also worth remembering that while this was the starting point of a major separation, both in Judaism and Christianity, things evolved with time and many more splits followed, the most well-known one being between Catholics and Orthodox in 1054, and then again between Catholics and Protestants in the 16th century. And the same goes for the Jews, with the Oral Bible, the Maimonides-Harambam controversy, the Hasidic movement, and those who opposed it. When you look back, it seems to be one clear road, but there were and there are many crossroads along the way. From here, we will continue up to the lookout. This video is taken from my Jaffa digital tour. As you will have seen, in Israel, you will understand next to nothing without some form of guidance. Otherwise, this is just St. Peter's Church, a Catholic church that was built in 1894 and dedicated to St. Peter's vision. On my digital tours, I don't only explain the site in what I hope you will find an interesting way, but I also give you an itinerary that connects the markets, the galleries, and the restaurants to all the interesting sites. If you want to purchase this tour as well as all my other tours, then click the link below. See you in the next video. Yalla bye.